Actually, as Cam mentioned, that we have been doing some fantastic work in the space of AI. But having said that, I think my topic today is basically on the chaos to clarity. As I know, like I've been going to the conferences, there are two things which I normally carry out. Either I get some clarity on what's happening outside the world, or it brings me at times overwhelming, and it kind of like creates the confusion as well, or chaos as well. So this is where exactly my talk is on leading the pathway from the chaos to clarity. So before going into the deep dive session, we're all kind of like living in a very incredible era of technological revolution, I can say, as we have seen that every day a new model is coming up, a new framework is coming up, a new tool is coming up, or pretty much there are a lot of rapid acceleration happening in terms of the AI revolution, I can say. It's trying to integrate into each and every aspect of the life and each and every aspect of the work as well. And this is where exactly becoming a bit of a challenge where the AI, how AI can integrate. So which particular tool I need to adapt, which particular framework I need to adapt. Do I really have to integrate AI into my existing solution? So there will be a lot of open questions, I can say, where the challenge comes out. And this is where exactly we're trying to lay a pathway of where exactly you can start, how exactly you can leverage and scale up your existing solutions to enable the AI so that you can adapt and accelerate your productivity as well. So before going into the other aspects of my presentation, probably rather than probably taking a talk, probably I'll try to show it in some in action as well. Okay. I'm coming from the adaptation. I own the testing practice. I'm the head of the testing practice here. So we have been providing solutions, especially in terms of the next gen quality engineering. You can see we are a lot of other consulting services into the AWS and the Microsoft stack as well. So there's a lot of work being done, especially in the AI space from the adaptation perspective. And especially focusing on the next gen quality engineering, we have been doing, apart from the traditional testing services, we are layering kind of a new strategy and a roadmap, especially in terms of deriving and scaling up the AI, especially in terms of the testing and the test automation space as well. So with that, we can jump into what exactly the orchestrating the AI for intelligent test automation is. So before even going into the deeper aspect of what exactly this orchestration, what exactly is the intelligent test automation, why exactly we are trying to talk about the AI in the testing space, I'd like to start off with the problem statement here. So what are the current challenges? As we can see, there are a lot of tools, as I mentioned before, there are a lot of frameworks there, and we have been kind of like adapted and adhered to a lot of frameworks, like say, for example, Selenium is one of the very famous open source framework, and then came the Playwright, and a lot of other advanced automation frameworks came into the picture, like Cypress, Source Labs, and everything. But here, what was the challenge? So there are a couple of challenges which I would like to start off today. Is there automation was pretty much kind of a very skill driven, right? Whoever wants to start doing the automation, it was primarily a skill driven kind of activity, I can see, and hence there is a lot of gap between the manual testing and the automation testing. So there was always that kind of a fence laid between those two teams. And obviously the context loss. So I've seen clients, I've seen projects where there was always a context gap in between manual testers, at times more of SMEs, I can say, the subject matter experts. They know the domain, they know how to design the test cases, and when they pass on to the automation testers, there was always that gap of are we actually writing the meaningful test? Are we automating meaningful tests or not? So there was always that kind of a small gap there. So when we look into the other side of the coin, comes to the tool or the frameworks. So we talk about the flakiness. Yes, whatever we automate, we have to deal with the flakiness all the time, especially because the application evolves over the time, and hence we need to keep uplifting our code base according to the changes, and brings in a lot of flakiness as well. Speed versus quality. Yeah, we can't automate, like I've been listening from more than 2 decades now, that we can't automate 100%, right? So that's a known truth. Delayed feedback. So when I say, automation actually is specifically for regression test suite. We use automation for repeatable tests. What for? So what for is we need to ensure that there are no regression impacts because application has been changing. It's been touched with the new features, and hence there are regression effects. But when you look at one of the side impacts of it, it has to drive the feedback back to the development and the business teams. So that business and insights, like are we actually developing a solution in such a way that is it actually providing meaningful insights, not only to the testers, not only to the business teams, it's also even to the other stakeholders as well. So what kind of an insights we are giving it, especially from a test automation solution, is always a challenge. I see we normally standardize our report saying that, oh, these many passed, these many failed, but are there any other insights, right? What kind of an impact, because of the failure, what kind of an impact it might be on a business critical workflow. So those are the advanced insights which was not addressed, especially in the traditional test automation space. I'll take a pause here. Like you can see, like there is always a limited test intelligence. When I say limited test intelligence, I love to use personas here. Let's say, for example, I am one of the product owners. We have a massive test suite. Let's say, for example, I have a massive test suite of 10,000 automated test cases which are running on multiple enterprise applications. I want to know what's happening in a particular program or a particular project. How can I get the insights? Obviously, as I mentioned before, test automation was always kind of a very tech-driven or a skill-driven kind of an activity, right? As a product owner, coming from a business perspective, how can I translate that language of technical aspect into a business aspect? So that connect was always missing. So that was the key to bridge that gap between, and that's where the possibility of using the AI to bridge that gap is actually playing a very crucial role there. So that's where some of the problem statements I thought of, like where we'll try to address by using the AI, and how we can open up the doors or a new dimension, especially for the non-technical guys, by leveraging the AI, especially in the test automation world. Before going, probably I'd like to start off with a small refresher of the terminology here so that we all understand what the language we are talking about here. We all know what is a large language model is, why it is called. There is a small language models as well. SLMs are also there, and we have a large language models are there. So there is anyone knows what exactly is a LLM here? We might be using a lot of LLMs these days. Yep.
Yeah, it's just more on the models that we can get from any of the teams, like for example, Hugging Face or something. So where we can use it for our own use work on it.
Agree. Yep. So it's a pre-trained network. I can say it's a neural network where it has been trained on a set of data, and when we try to query some information based upon the training data, it will try to answer you back with relevant or irrelevant questions, answers as well, right? And hence the model context protocol. So you have your model here, but let's say, for example, I'm using my chat GPT. I'm asking few questions. It's kind of like trained on a few data sets, and it's kind of giving some information. It doesn't have context. So if I ask my chat GPT to derive some information from my local database, no, definitely not. So you're losing that context. So this is where exactly the MCPs comes into the picture. It's trying to connect these two dots of bringing the context into the picture. And hence comes the AI agents. AI agents are like the task masters, I could say. So you define a task to an agent, it will perform and execute the task, and that's done and dusted. Now, you flip the words. There's a lot of game with the words here. You flip the words, that becomes an agentic AI. So what's the difference between an AI agent and an agentic AI? Anyone? As I mentioned before, AI agents are more of task masters. Agentic AI comes with a different aspect of collaborating with the other agents. It becomes more of autonomous at times, right? It can decide, let's say, for example, I want to fetch some information from a particular database, right? If it doesn't find, it will try to find a different way of trying to derive some information from that particular aspect. right? It becomes a little bit more autonomous. It knows it can plan on its own, it can try to derive some information on its own, and it will try to adapt it to the changes as well. Context management is the key here in this world, is having that context to ensure that the relevant information is derived. So that's very key. Like if a model doesn't have any context of your applications, how can it derive, how can it spit out more relevant information to the queries or to the test you're trying to develop? So that's the key, especially in terms of the AI world. Memory management, yes. So at times you might have heard about the word hallucination, because it does kind of like loses the context, loses the memory. It can't sustain the memory for such a long time. So that's where it loses the concept of context and the memory there. So memory management throughout the journey of your test development or the test script development or the scenario development is the key. So it has to have that sense carried throughout the journey of development of the test as well. As you can see this, that's where the orchestration comes. So we have all these building blocks together now, it comes the orchestration. So orchestration is like, is the guy who actually controls the musicians to make sure that a particular meaningful rhythm is generated out of the rhythm, right? So that's where the orchestrator comes into the picture, is like I don't want to generalize an orchestrator here, sorry for that. The orchestrator is the one who actually aligns the agents together to ensure that they collaborate together, they execute this predefined task and make sure that they derive the meaningful outcomes from this orchestration. So as you see, that LLMs are kind of like, they are really, really brilliant, but they're not self-directed. To give the directions, they need a structure. So that's where the agentic comes into the picture, and to make sure that you bring that context into that, MCP plays a very crucial role. So as we have been talking about, there are a lot of models in the framework. So there's just a sample depiction of the models being delivered, and that's the ecosystem outside. It's like there are a lot of models, as you can see, but which one to pick, right? So that's the current state where we are in today. So this is where exactly we are trying to narrow down to a specific context of the test automation in today's task, and how we can actually narrate or enable a new pathway by keeping your existing work and enable the layer of AI on the top of yours. So what I mean exactly is, probably I'll try to show it in action and try to explain what we are trying to do here. So as you can see, is in the agentic world, there are a lot of new agents coming up. There are a lot of AI capabilities which are coming up, which are trying to address specific needs of the testing, I can say in general, like the security agents or the accessibility agents. So earlier, well, or I don't say earlier, even in today's implementations, we see that, let's say for example, I need to perform an accessibility testing of an application against a WCAG 2.2 AA rating. So it is a very specialized skill and a role. So one has to know what the guideline says, one has to know what the criteria is, and upon that, once the assessment is done, one has to derive where an application stands against this standard. That's a different skill set altogether. But here, the agents are coming up into the picture. It opens up the doors and the dimension that you can cherry pick which particular version of the WCAG you want to assess the application against, which particular rating you're trying to achieve. So the models can help you assess your application against them, gives you insights, or deeper insights, I can say, give you a nice pathway of where exactly the problems are and how you can address them as part of the remediation process. So with that, this is what we've been developing as part of the Adaptation's AI journey. So what you can see here is we try to connect the building blocks together, where you can see with simple user prompt, you can actually instruct the LLMs, which actually working in tandem with the MCP servers below the hood, where you can simply convert your prompts into your scenarios, into generate the test data. It will automate it for you, and it will execute it for you, and it will publish a report back to you. So this is all happening only with a simple single prompt, right? So will that not be like, let's say for example, in our current implementations, even in few of the clients, to generate a particular let's say for example, I'll take a step back, is to generate the scenario or design the scenarios to generate the data. It's a kind of like a time consuming activity, I can say. So what we are trying to showcase here is how we can leverage these LLMs and the MCP servers to open up a new dimension of implementing the AI in the current existing automation solutions. So what exactly I mean is, let's say how many of you are automation testers? I'm like, I don't want to categorize the people here, but I just trying to see the diversity of the interest in the people as well. Like how many of you are the automation testers here? Oh, there's quite a few. There's a lot of people here. And we might have been using multiple frameworks here, like Selenium or Playwright or Cypress or any other automation tools. But traditionally, we've been following one of the very famous design patterns, which is the page object design pattern, right? So that brings in a little bit of a modularity into the framework, brings in a bit of a maintainability, follows a bit of a clean code principles as well. So that's where exactly we've been traditionally developing our frameworks. So what if I say that you don't have to discard any of that? You keep your frameworks as is, but you just put a layer on the top, right? And use your AI to actually instruct them to generate your scenarios in Gherkin. It can write scenarios in Gherkin in your feature files folder and design your step definitions, the glue code, in your step definitions folder. Capture all the page objects on the fly, put them in your page objects folder, execute them for you, and then maintain the code. Now, there's a small addition to it. So we have talked about the flakiness. How about integrating the self-healing mechanism into the same framework as well? Let's say there is a change in the application, there is a change in one of the IDs, or there's a change in the class names, right? This framework will adapt or work directly with your DOM, captures the latest changes of your framework, goes back, updates your page objects during the runtime, and enables, or it will actually execute the test again to ensure that the new IDs or the class names are working in your test, and then maintains it for you. So it's all happening with just a single prompt, and that's quite possible. So we're not discarding any of your frameworks, you're keeping them, but what you're trying to achieve here is you just enable an AI layer on the top, which works as your orchestration to make sure that it works along with your framework. So with that, let me take away the screen and then try to bring in the demonstration here. Yep. So this is one of the accelerators we have built as part of the Adaptation's AI roadmap. So what you are seeing here is a simple ChatGPT style of the screen, where you can instruct or send a simple prompt either to create your test cases with a simple prompt of writing your Gherkin scenarios, your automating them using the Playwright under the hood, and executing them for you. So for that, I have a sample application, and what I'm trying to achieve here is instruct the model to create a brand new test case for me. So it has two parameters I can see. One is the name of the test. So how it helps is here, we all know tagging. So we do tagging a lot for all our automated tests. So what this model does is, it uses the first variable to create tags for you so that you can leverage your tagging mechanism in your pipelines as well. And the second one is the description of the test. So what I'm trying to do here is, when I click hit enter or send it, so what it's gonna do under the hood is it will create your Gherkin file, the scenarios file for you, in given when then statements. It will generate your step definition files. It will create the page objects of the application, and we're going to go back and then check behind the screens. And this is where exactly the instruction has been passed to the orchestrator. Orchestrator knows what my intent is, what I'm trying to achieve here. I'm trying to achieve here is to design a new test case from the scratch. So it will work along the set of the agents under the hood, with the creation agents, with the execution agents, and with the automated test scripts agents in tandem, and then the instructions will be passed from one agent to the other agent to start make the magic happen. Yep. So now all I did is a single prompt here. I haven't done anything else. So just a prompt. So what we'll do is we'll go back. So this is my existing framework. What you can see here is under the hood, that's the validate homepage, which I've just used the tag to create the scenarios. It has written all the scenarios for me. And under the page objects, it has created the page objects for me. And under the step definitions, it has created the step definition for me. So you might be seeing, there is only one step definition file here. Why there are no other steps? As you can see in the scenario file, there are a lot. So this is where exactly the intelligence comes into the picture. We have trained the agents to ensure that there is no duplicacy of the code generated. So we're maintaining a dictionary and the library of all the different step definitions available to ensure minimize the duplicacy of the code generation. So that's where we're trying to adhere to the principles of clean code, so that you can maintain your code down the line. Now, I have the test available. All I need to do is, I have my Gherkin file available as step definition, the page objects. Let's try to run the test. I'm using the tag here to execute the newly generated test. Yep. So what it basically does is errors out because there is a space. Yep. So as you can see, it has kicked off the execution of the scenarios. What are all the scenarios it has written? So you can instruct the models to an extent where you can write your accessibility test as part of the same prompt. You can write your security-based test as part of the same prompt. You can leverage the same test to simulate your performance test as well. So I'll be talking about a little bit more on how we can achieve this. So as you can see here, so once it's stopped execution, it has generated the report here, and they can see there is a bit of a failed scenarios. So why AI has generated this failed scenario? So this brings in the importance of human in the loop, right? This is exactly where the expertise of the human intelligence comes into the picture. Work along lines with the AI to ensure that we close that gap. So that human in the loop is really, really critical, even though there is a bit of an AI in the play, a lot of AI in the play, but one gem which connects that missing piece is the human intelligence. So that's where we are trying to work along with the AI models, especially in the assisted mode or up to some extent in more of an autonomous mode as well. So as you can see here, that's one of the possibilities, and yeah, that's where exactly I've instructed the model by passing on a prompt. It has understood the intent of what I'm trying to achieve here. One of the intents I've shown is create your test case. The other intent I've shown is to execute. So what it basically does is, as long as the intent is very clear, either you're trying to design your scenarios or you're trying to execute it, agents are knowledgeable enough to understand the intent. It has enough context of your application to exactly know what it is trying to do. So this is where the smartness comes into the picture. So now, as you might be seeing that there is a lot of, what about the behavior of the models itself? This is where exactly the evals come into the picture. So there are a lot of AI-related metrics, I can say, like the relevancy metrics or the behavioral metrics of the models itself. So that's where the evals framework they are the guardrails to ensure that the models are behaving well. They are not actually generating any unmeaningful content or unmeaningful tests, and it has to be in the context of the application. So eval frameworks make sure that it has the boundary drawn and make sure that the models behave within the boundary which we have defined. As I mentioned, like, we're not taking away your page objects or your existing framework, but still the building blocks remain the same. You don't have to take out all of your effort, whatever the time you have invested, whatever the cost you have invested, you don't have to take it away. So what we are trying to bring in is a layer on the top. So it will open up the doors, because we are living in the age of where English became a technology, right? So we are using prompts as a simple English, and that became a technology today, right? So this is where it opens up the door for other personas in the organizations, like a product owner or a test manager or even a manual tester, to leverage AI and open up the doors for the other parts of the testing, like the test automation. So other use cases still is like it can deal with your reports. Like as one of the examples I was sharing before is like if I have 10,000 tests and I want to know as a release manager like how good my latest build is, which I am planning to push into the production. So what kind of business insights I can derive. So this we can define predefined user prompts. You can maintain that as a library. You can leverage those predefined prompts for any personas actually. So you can just at just a click of a button, you should be able to get the information you need and make more informed decisions based on that. That's one possibility. So let's go to the next one. Okay. So what I've done is I've took out the user prompt from the equation. So you can connect your models to your existing Jira or to your Azure DevOps. So you don't even have to come and actually instruct your models to what to do. How about I say, here is my Azure DevOps, here is the project, here are my user stories. Can you reference them and then start doing the flow again? All I have to do is which particular user story I'm trying to automate. That's all I have to tell. So for that, I need to go back to the demo. Sorry. Okay. Okay. For today's demo, that's my Azure DevOps dashboard. You can see there's one work item, which is saying that there's a home page validation work item. All I have is only the description of the user story. I don't have anything else inside the story of it. So what we have done is we have integrated this particular framework to the Azure DevOps MCP server. Okay. So the beauty is all I need to do is go back to my model here. Well, let me copy the prompt. All I need to tell is fetch this particular work item, which is actually the 1730, as you can see on the screen. I'm trying to fetch that work item here and then send it to the model. And the orchestration receives this particular instruction. It knows what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is create, again, the test from the scratch. It starts designing your scenarios in Gherkin language. It starts creating your test data, and it will start automating them using the playwright under the hood, and it will start it will not execute until I instruct that to execute. Or you can enable the instruction of execution as part of the workflow itself. Yep, that's workflow completed. You can see the Azure DevOps work item 1730 has been received, and then it has gone and then tried to create this scenarios for us. So let's go into the feature files. Here, the home page validation. I need to go back here again. As you can see, the home page validation, it has taken that as the heading, and it has created a tag based upon the work item description, and it has started writing all your scenarios in the given when then statements and the underlying glue code and everything. So what we can do is let's go back to the model again and then execute this particular newly generated scenario. I'm using the tags again to execute the test. Yep. So it seamlessly executes the newly written scenarios for you. So again, we are not moving away from your existing framework. So it seamlessly integrates into your existing code repository or the test code repository or the test automation framework which you have, and then it just scaling it up to the level where it will open up the doors for all the different personas, what I'm mentioning today. So I think that's the end of the demo, which I thought like open up the doors, especially for the other roles and responsibilities in the organization to start playing a critical role of testing as part of the product delivery. So seeing that. Okay, so I'm going a little bit up, probably around 10,000 feet here. So trying to look at how AI can integrate into your entire testing lifecycle here. So this is the world of the LLM models and the MCP servers, where you can scale it up, as I was mentioning before, where you can scale up your prompts to achieve any aspect of the testing world. So we've been trying to achieve from a functional perspective. We're trying to achieve the objective of testing from a non-functional perspective, like the accessibility or even the performance. So there are a lot of MCP servers available outside, like say for example, the Playwright MCP server, where it has actually opened up the doors for different capabilities to bring in the manual testers into the world of the test automation. Accessibility MCP servers, that's directly coming up from the Axe core library itself. SonarQube, it works along in the lines of the security. It scans your code, especially for any vulnerabilities coming up from the dependencies or the libraries you're including as part of your project. Artillery is a non-functional testing framework where it works along lines with your Playwright code. It leverages the Playwright engine under the hood and then performs the performance testing on the top of it. So, and on the sidelines, yes, obviously we need to source safe all of the code to make sure that the version control is enabled throughout. That's where the GitHub MCP server comes into the play. So it's a whole complete life cycle where it has leveraged the world of AI and the MCP servers by orchestrating well into your existing frameworks. So I've been emphasizing the same. So you're leveraging your existing framework, scale it up to the level of where you are putting an enablement on the using the AI on the top, and make sure that you leverage the prompt engineering to ensure that we start writing or developing the meaningful tests as part of this. So that's a basic difference, high level differences of our traditional automation, and then obviously I've seen what we have achieved today by a simple demo of how structured the tests are, how we have orchestrated the agents to instruct them all the way from your designing your test scenarios, the data, the step definition, the page objects underneath. So as coming back to the original discussion where we are started off, is like we are started off with a chaotic world where there are a lot of models here. So this is an example of how we have narrated our journey, how we have created that pathway, which has led to the achievement what we have today as part of the AI-based solutions, what we are doing as part of that acting. So we started off with a very small use case, which is really the key for the AI enablement as part of your current development practices. So find out your use case, find out the suitable LLM which suits or which can integrate into your current stack or current ecosystem, and make sure that you run a pilot using that. So once you know that, I think this particular LLM model can seamlessly integrate into your existing ecosystem, either it can be a Microsoft stack, it can be an AWS stack, or it can be any other stacks. So make sure that that particular compatibility and adaptability is built in, and it can seamlessly integrate into your current ecosystem. That's the key. Find out a use case rather than trying to achieve a whole lot of things. Narrow it down to what the objective is. You need to find out what we are trying to achieve, and then make sure that you run a pilot. Then this is part of the baby steps we have laid out. Then obviously go further up, build the basic blocks, especially like what we have done is here is we understood what we are trying to achieve here. So we kind of like started developing the agents on the top. That's where what exactly we have done. Then we have moved a level up where we started bringing the MCP servers into the play. Then we actually started at looking at integrating the entire AI solutions into the entire testing lifecycle, which I've showcased before. So that's our success story here, how we have leveraged the AI, how we have started off, and then how we have achieved the success so far today. I think this is where exactly we have hooked up the solutions, especially in multiple aspects of the quality engineering. Either it can be the AI-powered or the agentic-powered quality engineering agents, predictive defect detection, so it can understand these agents work backwards. So based upon the commits you're doing, based upon the changes you're doing, it understands the application code or the commits, what you're trying to do to the code base, and it will try to do an impact analysis of the multiple areas of your application to understand where the change can impact, and then it will try to go back, trigger the relevant test as well. So predictive defect detection is the historical, or trying to understand your historical patterns of your defects, try to extrapolate to see what in which areas of your application might have the defects based upon the commits you're doing. Auto test generation, AI self-healing is what we have seen today, and intelligent object recognition is part of trying to adapt to the latest changes of your application, update them to the latest changes, working along in the sidelines with your DOM, and make sure that the self-healing comes on the top of it. I think that with that, I would like to conclude is, I've been trying to say in many other conferences as well, is this is an enablement for us. This is not actually, AI is not taking away. For me, it's opening up the doors to the whole lot new opportunities where we can leverage and make sure that the human intelligence can work along with the artificial intelligence. With that, thank you so much.
We've got a couple of minutes for questions. Any questions for Ravi? Yep, down the back. I'll run you the mic because it's very far.
Thanks, Ravi. Now, just out of curiosity, right, when we say that we are auto-generating a lot of test automation, how do you really validate? I did see the eval thing, and that is maybe the guide rail of it, but then how do you really ensure that the coverage is good with the thing that you are generating?
Yeah, so this is what I was trying to emphasize a little bit on the human in the loop picture. So as long we can't guarantee that the models can generate or give you the 100% of coverage. This is where exactly the human in the loop comes into the picture. You need to review them to see what the coverage is. Probably you need to go back, instruct the models to ensure that the uncovered areas of the application or the uncovered areas of your test have been filled with. So you can work backwards as well. You can work along with the models to go back and instruct to do more.
Thanks, Ravi. All right, we'll wrap up with a question from yourself to the audience. First person to raise their hand, answer the question, gets the gift card.
Okay. What was the name of the accelerator we have built?
You got it
Wrong.
You got to fix it.
Yeah. I think I heard some stuff from here. I think. Yeah.
Yep. Congratulations.